Hi, Richard.
Hi, Ayub.
Hi, I understand there is a lot of calamities taking place around this world at the moment.
Yes, indeed.
And I also understand the Aetherius Society has gone into action to support and help in these with these calamities. Would you like to share a little bit about what's happening?
Sure. I mean, I was just talking to one of our senior engineering officers here, Mervyn Smith, and we think probably this is unprecedented, the amount of situations that we are responding to through the missions this month alone, in such a short period and so intensively from all our main centres where we have spiritual energy radiators. I mean, we have been involved in sending energy for the still very dangerous situation in the Korean Peninsula to try and bring peace and freedom in that area. We've been responding yesterday. There was a terrible earthquake in Mexico. Not in Mexico, off the Mexican coast actually,
yes, yeah.
But there were tsunami warnings when we came in yesterday morning here in London of 3-metre high waves expected, and we got going very quickly within 5 hours of that earthquake with the spiritual energy radiator, and thankfully those didn't develop. I think there was maybe one wave of 3 foot spotted,
sure.
And that was about it. Also, of course, there were deaths, and it's tragic deaths, but certainly, so far anyway, less than 100 reported, and we think back to the Mexican earthquake of 1985, albeit in Mexico City, but there you had thousands, I believe, died. So that's one situation. Another, we were also operational we did an Operation Prayer Power discharge from Los Angeles, as well as runs from our northern UK branch in Barnsley for the situation in Myanmar, in Burma, or Burma as it was known. Terrible situation there.
Terrible,
tragic situation there. People can see it in the news. And yesterday, the UN did announce an aid package. A lot more needs to be done. Again, don't get me wrong. We're also monitoring with runs the hurricanes, the devastating hurricanes in the Caribbean. We've been working on another very bad situation in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, the worst for years. And this is exactly why the Aetherius Society was set up, in the way that it was set up anyway, by Dr. King. What he did with the society, you might say, turned it into a commando unit brilliantly by leaving us missions we could use at times like this.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Could you share a little bit about, to anyone who's not familiar with the Aetherius Society, how our missions can actually have an impact with these world situations?
Sure. I mean, what we do is to request help. We have a way that Dr. King left us of a one-way communication system. He, of course, had a two-way communication system,
yes,
and so he could get replies. We can't, we're not capable. Even if somebody could, it wouldn't be recognised within the society, because this avoids any confusion coming in through perhaps well-intentioned beliefs and things like that. So the only two-way channel within the Aetherius Society with the Cosmic Masters was Dr. George King, but he enabled some of us in this country and in America to communicate our requests and to operate our missions in response to these situations. And so we will, for example, target it for peace, freedom and aid, or in the case of, for example, the tsunami warning, it might be it might be, for example, DVIC stabilization and humanitarian aid. You know, we will depend on the situation. Now, please bear in mind also, we're in a spiritual push now. This has been running now for almost a week. And that means that we have all the spiritual energy radiators in the 5 areas operational every day as well, plus discharges. I mean, this very morning I was privileged with my wife Alison to be the people on a discharge, our regular Operation Prayer Power discharge with satellite number 3, which is just for which is for the benefit of the world, but at their determination. So all these things are going on as well. I can certainly say that yesterday we estimate that over 50,000 prayer hours, that's man or woman hours of spiritual energy, went out to the world.
That's amazing. So can you share a little bit about what the difference is between the effect that the missions have, the Aetherius Society missions have, on these world circumstances, and say an individual who may be praying in China for world peace or for humanitarian aid?
Fantastic question. I mean, there's two massive things, I think. One is the quantity and the quality of the energy itself. And when you have a mission like Operation Space Power 2, which is where the spiritual energy radiator is sending energy beamed down from a cosmic source, actually known as central control, you have fantastic quality and consistency and energy. Where, though, you have an individual sending out prayers somewhere, you have not just the quality, frankly, can't be as good, and the amount of energy won't be anywhere near that, but you have a karmic manipulation. So that's the other factor, karma. So, for example, with our online services, which we're doing this weekend, we do them every weekend, and Saturday and Sunday, you have the karmic effort there of all the participants. And I think that's the brilliant commando concept and magic, if you like, of Dr. King. He combined the individual efforts, the work as well, people who are working. Right now, just for example, as I'm talking to you, we have some of our voluntary staff working in our health food shop, trying to, sell useful, helpful things to people, but also supplement our finances to run these missions, because they're all non-profit making. I mean, we don't get any return financially, we get financial loss. So all the efforts that everybody's making in every part of the Aetherius Society, and the donations and the prayer efforts and the mission efforts, all combine to make the karmic manipulation. But certainly the most powerful aspect of what we do is our missions.
Perfect, thank you for that. Can you give us an example of how this energy could actually help to relieve a hurricane or a natural catastrophe?
Yeah. So what happens? The energy will go out. So let's take, for example, the releases we did yesterday from here, actually, for the Mexican earthquake situation and the tsunami warning. And that would be for humanitarian aid and also for DVIC stabilization. Well, the energy for humanitarian aid, assuming the powers that be chose to use it in the way we requested, and the request itself is a karmic manipulation too. I'm going to be talking more about karmic manipulation on Aetherius Radio Live, because that's one of the absolute hallmarks of what we call King Yoga, the teachings and the missions left to us by Dr. George King. So that energy would go to the devas, in other words, the natural forces there who govern weather conditions, and to try and bring, and likewise in the hurricane situation, to try and not necessarily stop them, but reduce them, perhaps. I mean, I heard, for example, I believe Hurricane Irma, I heard on the news this morning, bypassed the Bahamas, where it was heading. Now, that could have been, I don't know that it was, a result of energy that was sent to the devas. And bear in mind, also, another factor, that the ascended masters of this earth also, in an even more powerful way, as you would expect, send their energy for these situations. Sure. Yeah. And the more that we do, and particularly through Operation Prayer Power, the more that they can karmically do. So it's a very interesting metaphysical concept here, but the purpose is to save people. Now, the energy that goes to humanitarian aid, though, and likewise in the Burma, Myanmar situation, might go to UN people who are making these decisions, to inspire them, might go to help and assist the wonderful Red Cross and Red Crescent workers in these areas.
Okay, so I understand that there are higher forces who operate in other realms that would use this energy and distribute it to where it's needed, and they would know the best. Is that correct?
Well, in our particular case, with our discharges, we work directly, we're privileged to work directly with cosmic forces as opposed to higher realm forces. Don't get me wrong, though, we do work with higher realm forces. So when we have an activity, let's just take our services, which are going on all the time around the world, the official Aetherius Society services, we get fantastic help from higher mental realms, I believe extremely high mental realms, who help us and make those sometimes far more powerful than they would otherwise be. But in the case of the missions, it's directed by either beings on satellite number 3 or beings from central control or other cosmic forces who are able to, with all due respect to the people in the higher mental realms, and they would agree anyway, far more brilliantly determine and effectively where this energy should go, how it should go, and how it should be used.
Sure, thank you. Now, I understand that if enough people sent out positive energy, spiritual energy, to these 3 hurricanes that are taking place in the Caribbean at the moment, those hurricanes could easily be dissolved, I imagine, quite quickly.
Yeah.
If there was enough people. But
Yeah.
the fact that there aren't enough people doing that
Yeah.
at this moment in time, then the hurricanes last longer.
Yes, I mean, Dr. King explained at one time, apropos of missions and helping areas, that you are dealing also with the karma of the inhabitants in those particular areas.
Sure.
And obviously, you know, just like an individual healing,
Sure.
and any healers watching this will know, sometimes you can give healing to someone and you think you did fine, but not, you know, wasn't sensational necessarily, and yet seems to be a miracle result. And another occasion you can be on top form, give great healing, and yeah, the person feels a bit better, mildly better, but there's no miracle result. And this is because of the karma of that individual as well, and the experiences that individual needs to advance themselves. And likewise with group karma, likewise with national karma, likewise with world karma.
Sure. So I know that a lot of people out there who are concerned. I'm sure a lot of our viewers who are watching this video will be really concerned about what's happening in this world. So how can an individual who's watching this actually make a contribution to the relief efforts?
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, there's many ways. There's many ways. I mean, if such a person is a supporter, I mentioned, for example, people are working in the health food shop right now voluntarily. Just one little example of what's going on all over the world. Such people are helping the Aetherius Society, which is the organisation which does these missions, are helping them. They're part of it. But you don't have to be in the Aetherius Society or even actively supporting the Aetherius Society to make a massive difference in these regions. You can send out energy. You could be on your own, or even better, if you can get together with one or more other people in a group, and you can send healing power. You can use the method. I would recommend the 12 Blessings, as per 12blessings.org. You'll find all the details there. But you don't have to. You can use mantra. You can use your own healing method. And don't underestimate what you can do. I've actually been on in a television interview once with some very well-known psychics in Britain who did lots of healing work, but just didn't believe you could make a difference in, say, a war. And I you know, this is where Dr. King was so fantastic. He said you can. He empowered us. Said, no, you can make a difference. You won't necessarily know what difference you make. You know, somebody you could save their life somewhere.
Sure.
But you won't necessarily know it. But you will make a difference. So, you know, that's far. I think people are so fed up with politics, Ayub. It is so impotent. Because politicians are looking for materialistic solutions all the time. Let's put the money here, let's put the resources there. And, you know, there are different opinions, and they are needed. Don't get me wrong, materialistic service is also crucial. But in the end, it doesn't get to the root, especially the karmic root, of why these situations arise. You know, bad weather conditions arise, as we call them bad weather conditions, dangerous ones, because of the mindset of people, which is going out to the devic forces, which then have to use that energy. And so when we send out spiritual energy, that balances that mindset. If an individual says, what can I do? You could be sitting in any country of the world. You could sit down right now, raise your hands, you know, in prayer, and just visualize peace, visualize freedom, use a spiritual method and channel energy out. And if you need more, do come to our website 12blessings.org